Meeting is now streaming live on Facebook. So, hey everyone, welcome to this week's Love Seat. It is Morna Haist here, the host of the Revolutionary Woman Community, and I'm joined this week by the amazing Julie McCalden. Welcome, Julie. Where are you tuning in from?
Bristol in the UK.
Bristol in the UK. Whereabouts is that in relationship to London? Because that's
It's about a 2.5 hour drive. It's basically on the same level west.
Cool. Okay, so I was just trying to think about it. I just had a little flashback as you were speaking, because I lived in London for a year as a teenager in the UK. And one weekend, I think we went to Bradford. And I remember it so distinctly because it was 48 hours of not understanding a word that any human said to me. Okay, so before we get into making fun of all of the different accents in the UK, which is obviously going to be the theme of this, I'm just actually going to check that we're live. Let's have a look. Maybe if somebody could tell us, that would be awesome. Okay, well, I can't actually tell, so let's just continue because it does say we're live on Facebook, and I want to give you a little intro if that's cool, Julie, because you sent one through to me, so I'd like to share it with folks. So, Julie, you're an artist on hiatus.
I am.
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute. And it says after 15 years, you're taking a break from contemporary art in order to take care of business. And is that business as in business or life stuff or?
Business.
Business. Okay, I'm going to ask you about that too. She quit her job as an associate lecturer in visual culture and stopped freelancing for an arts organisation in order to start her own business. So she's in transition. And then I wrote after that, sound familiar, because I think so many people in this community, especially over this year, have found themselves in transition. Feels like it's a year of transition for so many people. And then you go on to say that the more that you get into business, the further away contemporary art feels. On the one hand, artist is just a label. On the other hand, it's a useful justification for doing whatever you like. Yeah, it's cool. I'm really keen to explore that too. And being an artist remains a strong part of your identity. Julie wonders what it could look like to approach business as an artist and how she can reconnect or reinvent her why. So, Julie, it's so awesome that you shared all of this with me. And let's actually start with this idea of reinventing our why and what it means for you to be in transition. That was quite a lot.
Well, yeah. Okay. So what was the first bit? Reconnecting with my why.
Well, let's car park that for a second, because I think let's not drop straight into the why. I'm curious about being in transition and how you ended up in transition and how it feels to be in transition.
Yeah, it feels good. It feels really good, actually. But it's like, it's also, there's a lot of space, which is good. Like I haven't got a why at the moment, or I'm not sure. We'll go into that. But that's actually okay. I think that's important because I think I need to sort out some basic stuff first and then go and do my why.
Right.
But yeah, just being in transition is actually really exciting. I'm really loving life at the moment.
That's amazing. And you might notice that I've just started recording, and the reason is because I can't actually find our broadcast on Facebook. So we are live on Facebook, but I might have sent us live into a different place. So, so I can't actually find us right now. So we'll just assume that we're live somewhere. And Facebook's just telling me to go live into the broadcast in the Love Seat. Sarah McCalden is saying she likes our live video on the Love Seat. Okay, so Fuel, we might actually be live. I just can't see it. Yeah, let's go back and just repeat for me what you were saying before I got into where are we live on Facebook.
I was just saying
I
about being
remembered.
in transition
Mm.
and it being a good place to be, and that, you know, I'm really happy at the moment and I'm really excited, but that I haven't, I'm kind of sort of lacking a bit in terms of purpose. Whereas in the past, I've always had a why. As an artist, I had a why. And now that I'm moving away from that, it's kind of bringing that into question. And I'm thinking, you know, um, how do I reconnect with that? Do I still want to? Do I want to do something different? Um, because although I'm really happy, really like I'm loving what I'm doing at the moment, but there's still this kind of um, ultimate purpose that's kind of missing.
Mm, That's so curious, and I love all the things you've shared. Especially, the first thing I want to comment on is, you know, I speak to so many women who are in transition, and so much of my life is in transition. I actually wonder whether we're always in transition of some sort, right?
Yeah,
Kind of our natural, right, our natural state.
yeah.
But often I hear women saying that they find transition uncomfortable. They find the experience of kind of being in this in between uncomfortable. But you're not describing it as that. You're saying you're feeling pretty happy.
Mm.
You know, just say some stuff about that.
I mean, I
I'm
think
really curious
like,
about that.
yeah, I mean, obviously there's different stages of the transition, isn't there? And I've also
Right,
been in bits where like it hasn't been, you know, fun.
right.
Um, but at the moment I've started a new business with my friend Fiona, and I'm really excited about that, and I'm really happy doing it. But I also like, you know, I've been thinking about this why thing for a while, and in the beginning it sort of like it sort of was a bit worrying that I didn't have that. And even for this love seat, because me and Morna, we chatted a few weeks ago, didn't we?
Oh, I
And I
found
was
it.
thinking,
I found it. We are live and we're in the group and the right
yeah.
place.
And so
Oh,
when we were chatting a few weeks ago, we were talking about this, and I was saying how, you know, one of the reasons why I've joined into the dojo is because I want to kind of refigure out this why. Um, but I even thought then, oh, I need to figure out what that is in time for this Facebook Live. And I was like, no, I don't.
I love that.
I just need to like, it was kind of like, yeah, a deadline. That's good. That's going to help.
That's right. Yeah, I need to find out my entire life purpose and come into this. Yeah, that's right.
Then actually, like, I actually feel like quite comfortable not knowing what it is right now. Like I feel okay sitting with that, and that it will become apparent, you know. The more I keep going down this, just doing everything that I'm doing, I think it will all kind of fall into place.
You know, I so appreciate you saying it and giving this perspective to it, because I think sometimes we also do think about this huge why, and I think it's a really interesting idea that I'm still on the fence as to whether we have this really big why, or whether our purpose unfolds in lots of little whys as we walk through our lives, you know. And I know for me, I feel like there's been this thread that's gone through my work and my life, which I can now name in kind of hindsight, but I wouldn't necessarily have been able to name what I was doing while it was happening. And so for
Sounds like
me,
an art practice.
well, I feel like most of my working life has been a creative practice and a journey of experimenting and action with the world and co-creation. And in fact, it says this on my LinkedIn profile, that my career in life has been about answering the question of how do we create a world that works. And so I feel like that's part of my bigger purpose. And then how that plays out can take many different shapes and forms. And I guess that's what I mean by that thread. I can see that thread in hindsight, but you know, when I was 27, if you'd said, you know, what are you doing? Well, I'm Morna and I'm I'm trying to figure out how to create a world that works. Well, firstly, I probably would have been locked away somewhere. But secondly, I didn't know that that's what I was doing when I went off to my job in government or whatever I was doing at that time, right? So that's one thing I wanted to reflect back. And the second is, I just love that you came on. And I also love that you said out loud that you had this thought of, wanting to come with like, look, I've got this why, and I also love that you're in the dojo next year, because so much of that journey will it be about experimentation and opening up more possibilities for these whys that we might not even have. See, I can't make words because there are none to describe that. So tell us a little bit about the business that you've started and the other things that you're doing, and also as you're doing that, I'd be really curious to know if you feel any kind of connection to how these pieces might be informing you as you move towards kind of leaning into whatever your next big why is. Just a little small question.
Another one.
Yeah.
So the business, this business, because I've got some plans for a few businesses, but this business is an online print shop called Moxie Studio that I set up with my friend Fiona Pawley, and we're basically like, it's really like reconnecting back to like the sort of fundamentals of like where, or for me anyway, where my art practice began, which was just like, a total kind of love affair with drawing and painting, which I completely lost going through art school.
Right.
It kind of like,
ironically, yeah.
They kind of like, it's just kind of like drilled out of you in a way. Not always, not like in a particular way it is. But so I haven't, and I have done drawing and painting in my art practice over the years, but that's not really what I did as an artist. But like, it's such a joy to be doing this. Like yesterday, I spent about 6 hours drawing 5 new images for our shop. So we're taking part in this vintage market on Saturday, and I'm drawing we're drawing some vintage shoes to sell at this market. And it's just like, it was just so fun. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, such a lovely way to spend the day. And of course, when you're running a business, that's like, you're not doing that every day. There's so much other stuff that has to be done. But like, just being able to do that is just so nice. And so yeah, we're drawing and we're putting them in our shop.
That's brilliant. Before we move forward, I want to underscore and just point out, you use the word joy, and I see it's very palpable actually as you speak about this. And what a wonderful gift while you're in this period of transition too, to be spending time and space doing things that bring you joy. And yeah, so you drawing all of the images for your print shop?
Me and Fiona are both drawing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really satisfying. And so yeah, we've got a long way to go. So we're on Etsy at the moment, but we're also setting up our own website.
Brilliant.
So yeah, big plans, but it all takes time.
Well, and just in terms of it all taking time, I think, and this is just a message actually to everyone who's watching or tuning into the replay, that I want to really underscore again what Julie's said about joy, because and then you just said, well, there's still a long way to go, and etc. And there's always a long way to go in whatever we're doing, right? And then there's those moments of kind of self-actualization or something coming to a thing, and then again we're in that process of a long way to go. And so to hear you talking about experiencing joy within that process, and yes, I know you're doing something you love, so it's a bit easier to feel joy in it. But I think that so often as humans, we car park our joy or our happiness for when we reach some future destination. But I think the process is way more important.
Yeah.
Just, of how we create in the world and how we bring our work forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really, really important, and weirdly, because like, when I was a contemporary artist, which obviously I loved doing that as well, but the thing that I did the least was actually make artwork, because
right.
I mean, and this is very, very common in the arts, but I think it depends what your practice is like. If you're a painter, then you can go into your studio every day and paint, and there's not really like it doesn't involve lots of other people, it doesn't involve like loads of money, it doesn't involve like securing a massive space or anything like that, so you can just go and do it. But the practice that I had, I was working collaboratively a lot of the time, and we would have to find spaces, we would have to get funding, we would have to secure equipment. There's so much logistics involved, and it almost became like going into the studio and actually making work was like a luxury that you couldn't afford to actually do, because there was almost like no point in making work unless it was going to be shown. And this relates back to that visibility thing. But in order to get the work shown, first you need to like have a gallery on board, then you need to like have an idea for a work, write that into a proposal, put together a funding bid, which can take months because of all of the intricate things that have to be lined up in order for you to apply for funding. So you're already doing months of speculative work trying to get an application off the ground, and then you haven't even started making the work yet because you need the funding to do it. So it's just like, I just got like, I don't think I would say that I burned out. I think that like I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Well, it sounds like you had the joy sucked out of it.
It was.
Yeah, if you're not able to do,
you can't actually make the work. That's the thing. So like, and by the time you get the money to make the work's evolved so much. It's different to the original idea. Sometimes it gets a bit stale. You've moved on to the next thing in your mind. You're not really still in that space. But then you've got the money and you're making this work. So yeah, I don't know. I think I just found it a bit, and also I really don't like the art world. So
yeah.
and a lot of my practice was, and this is related to my why, it was really about like critiquing the sort of systems and structures that we live in, and trying to kind of take the piss out of them in a way. It was a bit of a like light-hearted practice a lot of the time, just to kind of be able to see and think differently. And that's like, I have a very broad practice, so that was in relation to kind of these kind of large scale audiovisual installations that I would make with a group called Back in 5 Squad, and then on the other end of the scale I would do like more kind of like performative work, or it's more tricky to describe, but I was involved in another group called Girl Gang, and that was actually about doing dares. And
it sounds really cool.
it was so, I mean, it's still a thing. And like we obviously with this year, it's been a bit mad, but hoping to still be doing that. But yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought.
Well, I've thank you so well, because you said some enormous things there, and I want to pick up on a couple of the threads, because what was going on for me as you were talking was I was just thinking about how the system that you're describing plays out across so many different industries and sectors, and if I think about thinking about the not-for-profit sector, the charitable sector, who wish to be helping people at the front lines, and yet so much of the time is spent figuring out where to get the money from and then bending to wherever that money comes from, because often the money comes with strings, with, and then if I think about my business and all of the female entrepreneurs that I work with, or female founders who are using their work as a vehicle to make a difference in the world. I mean, and if I think about me, my artistry is facilitation, teaching, holding space, creating learning journeys and transformation. Yet a significant portion of my time is spent on, all of these other things. And just think about women who you want to start a coaching business. Okay, great. You get your coaching training, your certification, how to be a great coach. And then, there are these 7, 10, 15, 20 other things that I have to pay attention to and think about if I'm going to build a business. And I'm really curious about that. I've had so many times thinking about so many of my creative friends and wanting to just collect everyone up and find people to buy their things so that they could and I guess I see why in times gone by people had patrons, maybe artists had a patron and I'm curious, I know I'm also now going away around in a whole bunch of random things, but have you checked out the actual patron website? And
well, actually, me and Fiona, we're thinking about doing that. We're thinking about doing that for Moxie.
Can I actually just say something about that to the people who are watching, if you don't know what patron is? I actually don't even, I think it's pronounced Patreon, but I don't know. Yeah. It's Patreon, yeah. So it's a website where particularly creative people, artists, musicians, but there's now like all kinds of different people on this platform, can be paid really to create and can create memberships so that they can. There's some really, really interesting things going on there. There's a woman who's making spooky videos inside her house, and she's got a lot of people paying her money every month to make spooky videos.
I mean, that's awesome, isn't it?
It's awesome. It's really cool. Yeah. Because it's a different model from the I make this and then I get paid when I transact with you directly. Yeah. Whereas that is about supporting the creative process in its entirety, really.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I really like it as well. It's definitely, we've been talking about doing it for Moxie Studio. It's the kind of thing, like I wouldn't have done that as a contemporary artist, mainly because of the kind of, like I wasn't really making like anything traditional. Like I think a part of the Patreon thing, from my understanding of it, is that like you give your sponsors, it's a bit like a sort of crowdfunder where you have to like give rewards. So like, every month or something, you're giving your patrons something in exchange. You're doing something. So it is like another level of work. You have to have something to give back.
Well, you do, although if you're really creative about that, which I know you will be, because you could be you could be monetizing something, or we're just going to do some alchemy business stuff here now with like some ideas. You could be monetizing your process. So what if you were offering behind the scenes on how you draw, and just some audio over the top of it of your process and what people can learn from that?
Yeah.
People pay for anything, is what I've discovered. Like, and people, well, there are people who want to know almost anything and will pay for it.
Yeah, it's about finding the right people.
That's right.
Which is where visibility comes in.
Which is where visibility comes in, and I think we're heading up to the I was going to say heading up to the bottom of the hour, but that doesn't make sense. We're heading towards our 30-minute stop time, and this is it. It all comes down to this. It all comes down to finding the people. It all comes down to connecting the people to what we have to offer, and that is a process that I would invite people to do a bunch of experimentation around, because it's tricky, and well, I shouldn't label it as tricky. It's so much fun. It's wonderful. It's such a wonderful journey. But I think visibility and almost what I've noticed, particularly in the last couple of years, especially in the online space, is that we need to be way more visible than we think, because it's so noisy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have these experiences, but when you see someone who's active in social media, you may not be actually like watching everything they do, but they remain here, they remain conscious to you. Anyway, I'm blah, blahing off on a weird tangent. So let's finish off by, when you think about visibility, what are some of the things that you and Fiona are thinking about, and what are you thinking about in terms of your business and as you move forward?
Well, I think in terms of the business, like, you know, for it to be a success, we just need to get it in front of people. So that would, you know, all of the kind of the logistics side of the business, you know, like being on social media, getting more followers, like all that stuff. It's kind of like, you know, really basic stuff, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, I think like visibility is just is necessary. If you want to make a difference in the world, you need visibility.
Yeah. Mic drop. We'll just finish on that, because it's true. It's true. If you want to make a difference in the world, you need to be visible. And often, I'll just say a couple of things about that before we wrap up. Often you need to be visible before you're quite ready to be visible, because we're never actually ready, really. And do it enough that it becomes a muscle where you can know that sometimes you're going to show up and it's not going to be great. Sometimes it's going to be amazing, you know, but to keep going and to be visible. And on that note, congratulations, Julie McCalden, for your very first Facebook Live.
Yes,
everyone.
Amazing.
This is Julie McCalden's very first Facebook Live. And I would, you know, I don't normally give people a grade, but I'm going to give you an A+, because you're so good at this. Yeah.
Awesome.
You're really, really, really awesome at this. And I would love to see you live on Facebook. Actually, you and Fiona together would be really awesome. And I'm planting seeds. Thank you so much. And I see that there have been a few comments, so Julie and I will have a look at those after the broadcast. And is there anything you want to say in closing, Julie, as we wrap up? Where can people find Moxie and find your work and find what you're up to?
You can find us on Etsy by searching Moxie Studio Prints. And I just had this idea, but we could do a Revolutionary Woman discount code. I'll put it. I'll make one and I'll put it in the comments.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you. We would love a special discount code. And I'll just say in summary, it's really cool to know that you and Fiona are, you know, have your hands in this work. You're making it, and that is so cool. And
so awesome.
Yeah,
I'm just loving it. And like it's I think we've got a really good like balance together. Like we've got a really kind of together, we've got a really like good skill set, you know, and like and it's just really satisfying. Like I do something and then she makes it loads better. It's really great.
I love that. Thank you so much, Julie, for joining me in the love seat.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. And look out, everyone, for the special code for us to nab some stuff from Moxie Studios. That is so exciting. And that was the Love Seat for the first week of December. And we'll see you all next week. Thanks, Julie.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Okay, I'm going to... And I think I just actually have to end the meeting, Julie, because I don't know how to stop the live.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Julie.
Bye.
Bye.